ثم استقاموا تتنزل عليهم الملائكة ألا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا وأبشروا بالجنة التي كنتم توعدون نحن أولياؤكم في الحياة الدنيا وفي الآخرة ولكم فيها ما تشتهي أنفسكم ولكم فيها ما تدعون نزلا من غفور رحيم ومن أحسن قولا ممن دعا إلى الله وعمل صالحا وقال إنني من المسلمين صدق الله العظيم.
Inshallah, those brothers who are at the back, if they can come forward, inshallah, that would be better for them, because I'll be asking some questions as well. I wanted to keep it more interactive, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wal aqibatu lil muttaqeen was salatu was salamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in. But today's talk is about what is entrepreneurship, what it entails. Yes? Does anyone know what does it mean, the word entrepreneurship? Anyone?
You mean iltizam?
Entrepreneurship.
Business, any proprietorship business, any new business.
Any new business, yes. Starting a business, yes.
Commitment with the business.
Commitment with business. Anybody else? So the simple Oxford dictionary definition in the Oxford dictionary is an activity of setting up a new business and also taking risks in order to make profit. That's the simple definition. But as they say, صاحب الدار أدرى بما فيها. What they say? صاحب الدار أدرى بما فيها. The owner of the house, he knows inside out. He knows what's inside the house, isn't it? Yes? أهل مكة أدرى بشيابها. So the people of Makkah, they know more about their own city, isn't it? Yes? So it is important to ask those people who are inside the business world, what does entrepreneurship entail? What does it mean? And they will say it is the capacity. What they say? It is the capacity and the willingness. Capacity and willingness. Qudra and irada. Yes? Capacity and willingness of developing and organizing and managing a new business venture alongside with taking risks in order to make profit. Yes. So to have that will, to have that capacity, and then go forward, develop a new business venture, yes, and also take risks, and also alongside with that, a person, though he's taking risk, as they say, the greater the risk, the greater the profit, yes. So you're taking risk, and also you want to make profit. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. And the entrepreneurial spirit means or is characterized by innovation and taking risks. And as we look at the history of the Muslims, from day one, the Muslims have been entrepreneurs. Why? Because the Quran was revealed on who? The Prophet ﷺ. To the city of Mecca. The city of Mecca was an economic hub, yes, full of entrepreneurs. Quraysh, they were entrepreneurs. The Prophet ﷺ was an entrepreneur. True? Therefore, he went. He worked for Khadija radiallahu ta'ala anha, and he became very successful in his business and trade when he used to go to Syria and trade and come back. Yes? So, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala was an entrepreneur. Uthman radiallahu ta'ala, Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. In fact, those who entered into Islam, the early entrants into Islam, were entrepreneurs. And you can understand the entrepreneurial spirit of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala. He says that if there was trade, where? In Jannah. If there was what? Trade in Jannah. If there was trade and business in Jannah, then Abu Bakr would be a cloth merchant. He would be what? A cloth merchant. He would be selling clothing in Jannah. This is Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, because there was that entrepreneurial spirit inside him. So the intermarriage between the Muslims and entrepreneurship is an old one. It's very ancient. It's from the beginning of Islam. Yes? When the Prophet ﷺ came to Medina, the economic situation of Medina wasn't good. The economic situation of Medina was not good. And most of those living in Medina, meaning amongst the Ansar, they were farmers. They were not businessmen. They were not entrepreneurs. They weren't entrepreneurs, neither businessmen. Meaning most of them were farmers. When the companions of the Prophet ﷺ did hijrah, that is, they left Mecca and they came to Medina Munawwara, when they came there, they came penniless. Why? Because all their wealth was left in Mecca. Some of it was confiscated, others they had kept, they had hidden their wealth. But when they came to Medina, the Muhajirin, they came empty-handed, penniless. But they were entrepreneurs, so they had the entrepreneurial spirit. And if you're an entrepreneur with entrepreneurial spirit and your already business is running in your blood, yes, and in your mind, then obviously you will start from scratch. You might have heard about Idi Amin. Have you heard of Idi Amin? He was the leader in Uganda. He said all the Asians have to leave the country. They have to leave their businesses behind and they have to leave the country. And he gave an ultimatum because they were businessmen. You have to leave the country. Within this period of time, they left empty-handed. Many of them came to settle in the UK. They came empty-handed. But now today, they came without anything. But now they are millionaires and businessmen. Yes. So when the Muhajirin came to Medina Munawwara, the Prophet ﷺ started an initiative. Does anyone know the initiative that the Prophet ﷺ started? What was the name of the initiative? He started an initiative. Some scholars, they say that this is the first, it is the first initiative taken by a leader in the history. You don't find in history anyone taking such an initiative to stimulate the economy. So what was we find Abdullah Yusuf Ali, who translated the Quran, in his commentary, he says, this is because of the dynamic personality of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So what was that initiative to stimulate the economy of Medina? What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? He did what is known as brotherhood, yes. Mu'akhat and ikha, brotherhood. The first thing he did was what? Mu'akhat and ikha. Why? Because Muhajirin, they had the business expertise. And Ansar, they were farmers. So to create that partnership and bond between them, so they are able to, they are economic agents. So Muhajirin, they are economic agents. They are able to stimulate the economy because they are entrepreneurs. They have the entrepreneurial skills and also spirit. And they have that passion and drive, and therefore they can do it. So the Prophet ﷺ did what is known as mu'akhat or ikha, that is the brotherhood that the Prophet ﷺ created. We find one of them is Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Have you heard of him? A great entrepreneur. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he was paired with Sa'd ibn Rabi'a radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And what happened was that the companion said, Oh Abdurrahman ibn Auf, I have two wives. What did he say? Ansari brother. What did he say? I've got two wives. Any one of them, if you want, I'm ready to divorce, you can take. And I've got wealth, we will divide half. What did Abdurrahman ibn Auf say? Brother, may Allah give barakah in your family and in your wealth. Just show me where is the market of Qaynuqa. Where is the market of Qaynuqa? I will go there. Now he's going empty-handed. He's going penniless. But he was born in a business family. He used to go with his father, Abdurrahman ibn Auf. He used to go to business meetings with his father. He knew how entrepreneurship works. Yes? He went to the market, and obviously when you go to the market without any money, what you do? First you offer your services, yes? Until you start making money. Until he got about 2 to 4 dinar, he started trading, and he started trading in horses. He knew that in horses you can make more profit. And he started trading in horses, then he saw, there is another market. Yes, and there's another opportunity, because he would look for the opportunities where the opportunities were and where you can make enough wealth. And wherever he saw the opportunity, he took that opportunity on board, and thus he started selling saddles, yes, accessories pertaining horses. And then slowly he came to know that in some places there are some items that are not found, and they're found in Medina. He started importing and exporting, yes, things that are needed in Medina. He started trading in butter. He started trading in yogurt, dried yogurt. He started trading in oil and things like this. And Allah gave him so much, and he also kept on spending in the path of Allah so much. When he passed away, he started without a penny in his pocket, isn't it? When he passed away, how much wealth did he leave? How much wealth did he leave? He left 3,103,000,000 dinars. How many? 3,103,000,000,000 dinar coins. These are the gold coins. Now you time that by 4.25 grams. Every dinar coin is how many? 4.25 grams. Then every gram is about 30 or so dollars or pound, yes? So it comes to 395 billion. How much? He left how much behind? Today's wealth, 395 billion pounds, 632 million pounds. If you convert that into dollars, how much is that? That's half a trillion. $534 billion, 255 million and 179,000 dollars. And yesterday I was just trying to work out the latest value of gold, and it came to about $552 billion. That's what he left behind. And what is the net worth of Bill Gates? Does anyone know? What is his net worth? 86 billion. He's 86 billion. So how he was 6 to 7 times more wealthier than Bill Gates. Yes. So it is said that, people he would say that, wherever I put my hand, I would make, wealth out of it. So he had in all different areas, he had his business. And have you heard of a word called banks without banks? Have you heard of this before? Banks without banks. Banks meaning a person acting like a bank, but is not a real institutional bank. Nowadays, because banks are refusing, isn't it, giving a loan, they're refusing. So what is happening is that many people, they're going to crowdfunding. Yes, they're trying crowdfunding, they're trying peer-to-peer lending. That is known as banks without banks. You're going to these financial institutions which are not banks, but they're ready, or companies, or you can say businessmen who are wealthy, angel investors who are ready to give. So Zubair ibn Awwam radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a bank without a bank. Meaning he acted like a bank, but not a real bank, an institutional bank. What? Because people would come to him, they would leave with him amana. What they would leave with him? In trust. They would say, look after this, look after this. He would say, okay, I will take it, but I'm taking it as a loan. What he would say to them? Yes, I'm taking it as a loan, I'll pay you back. That's what the banks do, isn't it? Promise to pay. Yes? When you're putting the money inside the bank is taking it as it's borrowing from you as well, if you're living in savings account. In savings account. So, and the bank promises to pay back. Similarly, what he used to say that, you live with me, but, I am just borrowing from you and you're lending. And on the day when you come, I will pay. Yes, so he's promised to pay. And he had tawakkul on Allah. And obviously the Prophet ﷺ says that a person who takes loan, what? A person who takes loan, yuridu ada. He has the intention of paying, Addallahu anhu. Allah pays on his behalf. Allah pays on his behalf. So he told his son that, look, when I pass away, people will come to you. Yes, all the creditors, they will come to you and they will say that we want money. Yes, all those lenders, they will come and they will say that we want the money. He said that ask Allah for help. Do tawakkul on Allah, ask Allah for help, and Allah will pay. So Abdullah ibn Zubair, when his father passed away, everyone started coming. And how much was the loan? 1.2 million dirham. 1.2 million dirham. Now he was worried, how will I pay? He was so worried and he started asking Allah for help. Who? His son, Abdullah ibn Zubair. He started asking Allah for help, and they had some land. And all of a sudden people started putting offers on that land, and very higher offers. When they started putting so many high offers, he started selling them at a higher price. And it is stated that all those people who came and asked, and they said that please give us our money back, he paid to all of them 1.2 million dirham. And he had how many wives? Zubair ibn al-Awwam, 4 wives. Everyone got 1.1 million dirham, which comes to about 1.1 million pounds nearly. And still they were left with 30 million dirham for the children. How much there was left? 30 million. So these were entrepreneurs, isn't it? Yes, they were entrepreneurs. So the history of Muslims and entrepreneurship goes way back. Yes. And not only this, the fuqaha as well, they were business-minded as well. Like we find Imam Abu Hanifa, he was a great cloth merchant and very rich. You find other scholars as well, Abdullah ibn Mubarak and so on, they were very rich. And we find that not only this, we find his student, Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani, is student of Imam Abu Hanifa. Once Sheikh Ibrahim al-Harbi asked Imam Ahmad, he said, من أين لك هذه المصائل الدقائق? Yes, Ibrahim al-Harbi, he asked who? Imam Ahmad rahimahullah. He asked him, من أين لك هذه المصائل الدقائق? Brother is laughing because he's Ibrahim Harbi. Yeah? Yes, so we've got Ibrahim Harbi as well here, and also the student of Imam Ahmad was also, what was his name? The student of Imam Ahmad, his name was what? Ibrahim al-Harbi. He said to Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, من أين لك هذه المصائل الدقائق? Where do you bring all these delicate and in-depth fiqh issues? He said, من كتب Muhammad ibn al-Hasan al-Shaybani. I bring from the books of Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani. So he has written a book called Kitabul Iktisabat. What is the name of the book? Kitabul Iktisabat. The book regarding the ways of earning. So you have that entrepreneurship spirit, yes? The book about the ways of earning. Regarding this book, we don't know where it is. The book cannot be found. It has been mentioned that he had written a book called what? Kitabul Iktisabat. But, it's very hard to find, because there is a lot of books that have been found, yes? In handwritten format, yes? Makhtutat. And they have been printed out. But that book is being investigated where it is, yes? And if it is found, that would be a great treasure to find out what is written inside that book. Yes. Also, Imam Abu Yusuf, who was also the student of Imam Abu Hanifa, he wrote Kitabul Kharaj. Yes, where he argued about proportionate taxation, which is a fair way of taxing the people, and it's good for the economy. So we find people like this, even Abdullah ibn Mubarak, very extremely, great entrepreneurs who came up with good ideas and had businesses in every city. Abdullah ibn Mubarak had businesses in every city. And again, he was a great scholar as well. So sometimes people would say that, you being a scholar and then also a businessman, how does this go hand in hand? He said, look, the reason is that I'm earning so that I can help out people. So we find that Muslims have always been like that, yes? Even in Dundee, if you look, many people are entrepreneurs, yes? And they are ones who have come from different countries, and some of them, they migrated to the UK, and they didn't have any pennies, yes? Like Brother Ibrahim Okhai, you might have heard, he would say many times, when I came, I had only a few pounds in my pocket, and now he created many businesses, and many people in Dundee benefited from him. So we find that it is a history that Muslims have always enjoyed. We find Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Uthman ibn Affan, all these, Zuber ibn al-Awwam, others, they were all entrepreneurs. So we do have that embedded in our history, and today as well we find quite a lot of them everywhere, isn't it? Yes? But there are some problems with some entrepreneurs. They start a business starts booming, and then what happens? They close the business, they pack up. Even in Dundee we find many people, they start business, it's doing very well, but what it is, boredom comes, yes, and they say, well, that's it, now, that's enough. No, persistence is important. One of the problems with entrepreneurs is that sometimes boredom, if it comes in, they're not persistent and they give up. That shouldn't be the case. One has to all the time remain motivated. You don't wind up, yes, you don't start winding up the business, rather give it to somebody else, yes, to run for you. And because you get another idea in your mind, go for another idea, that's no problem, yes. But don't make that business just pack up, and that's it, finished. No, keep it running. Unless there are problems. Sometimes some businesses, they start skidding, yes? They start slipping, and then look at the problems and try to solve. Because entrepreneurship means also the ability to think and to try to realize where the problems are and to try to fix the problems. So sometimes because of the boredom, and sometimes the business is booming because of the entrepreneurial spirit, but then you don't have the strategy. What happens? You do not have a long-term strategy in place, and you start facing competitors. Yes, competitors also start, isn't it? You find many companies, they start as one, and then many others start coming into play. What a person should be driven by is being strategic in thinking. Also, he has to be patient, and also he has to learn the new tricks. Yeah. Many a times what happens is that a business has been going and it's been doing very well for years, but now it has to adapt. You go to the city center, don't you? Yes? The high street retailers, you know, few names, yes? Woolworths. Have you heard of Woolworths? They used to be, what's happened? Gone. Gone. British Home Stores? Gone. Comet? Gone. Yes? What happens is that you have to adapt with the environment as you go along, you adapt. And some of them, they don't adapt on time. They do not have strategic thinking, yes? They don't look for how can we have a competitive edge, yes? And advantage over others. How can we try, you know, there's no innovation. And when there's no innovation, what happens? Things start collapsing. And that's what happened to Woolworths, British Home Stores, others. They started becoming empty in the high street. And what you find now, it is pound shops, isn't it? Yes. Mostly it's pound shop, 1 pound shops, and so on and so forth. Or you find restaurant and takeaways. So, you know, to be able to adapt with the environment, the things change. With the changing period, you change, yes, internet, you have now internet, isn't it? Business, you know, you have to go into internet as well, business, and do it. Like, for example, Comet, it didn't, you know, if he had a very strong internet presence as well, because many people, what they do, they don't go to the high street and buy. They want to do it at home. So you have to understand that things are changing, how we, you know, how we embrace the new technology and how we can be business, you know, far more experts in the field. And when that doesn't happen and there is no innovation, then things do start going down. So an entrepreneur should be driven either by necessity. You've heard about Murray Spangler. You know Murray Spangler? He invented the Hoover. You know the upright Hoover? He invented the Hoover, and the reason was necessity, because he said, "Oh, I've got asthma. Whenever I sweep," before they used to sweep the carpet. What they used to do? Sweep the carpet. Now the dust would come, and they wouldn't be able to. You know, if a person has got asthma, it's very hard for him. So he came up with the idea, but he was an inventor, but not an entrepreneur. He was what? An inventor, but not an entrepreneur. So who was the entrepreneur? It was W.H. William Henry Boss Hoover. He's known as Boss Hoover, and he used to manufacture leather. What he used to manufacture? Leather. So he teamed up with him, and he sold the patent to Boss Hoover, yes, or Hoover Senior, and his son. Both of them they bought, and they started, and he was getting royalties. So necessity sometimes is the main driver for an entrepreneur, and sometimes it's ambition and passion, and sometimes it's tradition, because you're part of that tradition of business making and wealth creation and entrepreneurship. So you know it is that tradition that runs in the family, so you just go into that. So strategy, as I said, is important to gain competitive advantage. As I mentioned about Hoover, when they started, in the beginning, they came up with many ideas of how to try to sell. In the beginning, their products were not being sold. Hoover, yes, was not being sold. They started in 1908. Yes, W.H. William Henry Bose Hoover, he purchased Spangler's patent, and he formed Electric Suction Sweeper Company. That's the first name that they had. And, you know, in the beginning, they couldn't sell because it was expensive to make, and nobody wanted to buy. So he came up with a good idea, because he was an entrepreneur. He came with the idea of putting an ad on the newspaper. And together with that, 10 days free trial. 10 days free trial, try it, and then buy it. And then he also teamed up with retailers and said, please, if you can keep my product in your shop. Yes. And slowly it became international. You know, within few years, they were selling worldwide. Customers from Scotland and Europe were buying from them. And in a short period of time, because of their strategy and strategic thinking, because Mr. Hoover was an entrepreneur with a very strategic mind, slowly, they built up a strong network of 5,000 reputable dealers across the country in America, and they did it very well. In the beginning, they relied on door-to-door selling. What they did in the beginning, they relied on what? Door-to-door selling. Then the World War broke out, and what happened? The ladies now are working. They're not at home. You go to the ladies, they are the ones who are more soft-hearted. You tell them you have to, and she tells the husband you have to buy Hoover. He says, oh, I don't have enough money. It's very expensive. No, we need it. Yes? Because the lady came to me and showed, a lady saleswoman came and showed me, and it's a good product. Now what happened was that the ladies, because of the war, ladies in Europe, ladies in America were not working. Before First World War, they didn't work. It was the men working. It was a men working environment. Then, First World War, Second World War, it drove many of women to work because their husbands passed away, number one, in war, number one. Number two, many men went to war, so they had to fill in the gap, isn't it? Many businesses, they needed people, so they had to employ women. So when they realized that this door-to-door selling doesn't work, they started thinking of other ways of doing it by, teaming up with the retailers, and they did very well. Then what we find is that because of the innovation not being there recently, yes, Dyson entered into market, yeah, because of their technology. What was the technology that was the selling point for them? The Dyson technology was the dual cyclone. What was it? Dual cyclone technology. So they did quite well, Dyson, and they started taking a big chunk of Hoover's market. Not only this, there were other competitors as well at that moment in time. And what happened was that in year 2000, Hoover was found guilty for patent infringement as they used Dyson's dual cyclone in their vortex vacuum, except they added one more cyclone, calling it triple vortex cyclone. And because of that, they were sued and they were found guilty of infringement. So we find that innovation is important as well. Anyone who is an entrepreneur, he should be innovative as well, and also he should be a think tank in the field, and should know. He should have some characteristics. What he should have? Some characteristics, some sifat. An entrepreneur should have how many? Few characteristics. First one is that he should have passion. He should have passion. Without passion, a person can't do much. The second thing is, the Prophet ﷺ says, what did the Prophet ﷺ say about passion? Ihris ala ma yanfa'uk. Have passion in those things that benefit you. Have passion in those things that benefit you. Have passion. Wasta'in billah. And also seek help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wala ta'jaz. And do not become despondent. The second thing is independent thinking. To be able to think independently. To be able to think outside the box. The third characteristic is optimism. Have optimism, yes? وَلَا تَقْنَطُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Have optimism. And also self-confidence. People sometimes have very good ideas, but they don't have confidence, they're not strong enough, so they can't realize. If you're not strong, if you're pessimistic, you lack self-confidence, you what? Lack self-confidence, you can't be an entrepreneur. So these are the characteristics. Be resourceful, meaning that, have the knowledge and of the field, and also be a problem solver. Sometimes problems do happen. Yes, you're an entrepreneur and you came up with a very good idea and you opened something different in Dundee, say for example. Yes, and a problem happens. The day when you are launching, your EPOS system is not working. Yes, your EPOS system is not working, functioning properly, and there's a queue of people they want to buy. Yes, you have opened some niche restaurant in Dundee, yes, it is the first in Dundee, and you have been advertising in the newspaper, social media advertising, and there's a queue of people outside. And now what happens? Because the machine has, you've put this electronic machine that processes the order, it goes down. So what do you do? In that case, it's very simple. You have to be able to solve the problem. You can't solve the problem. You try to phone the engineer, doesn't come. You can't say, oh, sorry, we are closing the shop. No, I'll have everybody in, isn't it? Entrepreneur, he will solve the problem there and then. He will say, come inside, and he will try to use now, rather than using machine, he will use everything written, handwritten. Yes, orders, he will take it handwritten, and he will tell them that the machine is broken down and will fix it. Because what will happen is that if he says to them, wait, and let's get the engineer to fix, and they're waiting, what will happen? They will give you a bad review at the end of the day. So you have to be a problem solver as well, and also the ability to overcome hardship and have the vision as well. If you have the vision, you will have goals and objectives in front of you, and be focused. Many a times what happens, there's something known as shiny object syndrome. Have you heard of that word before? Shiny object syndrome. A child, when he sees a shiny object, he will go for it. Yes? So people sometimes, they are distracted by other ideas, whilst they're meant to focus on one and concentrate on one idea, and they're sidetracked because of what is known as shiny object syndrome. They're driven away from what they're meant to focus on. So you have to have focus, and also you should be action driven. You can't say, okay, I'll sit down and things will happen. Never will happen. You have to be active. So it is important that a person should be of these qualities, and as I mentioned, that he should have also strategic thinking. Yes? In strategic thinking, a person should think that this will be suitable or not. So he has to look at suitability. Will this idea work or not? Yes? Feasibility. Can it be made to work or not? Acceptability. Will they work for it? Will they work it or not? Those people who are involved, will they make it to work or not? And also the customers, will they come and buy it or not? And business strategy, when a person makes a business strategy, then he has to concentrate on the uniqueness of the product. Yes, not that I want to be the best. Yes, how I can be unique, and how can my product be different from others. Yes, you've heard about Nokia. Yes, have you heard of Nokia? Nokia, they came up with their phones before. Nokia came up. They were the market leaders in mobile phone, and they're the first ones to invent these mobile phones. In 1982, they came with Motorola, Nokia. They came up in 1982. They came with the Senator. They came up with this mobile phone, which was 9.8 kilogram in the beginning, so big. Then in 1987, they came up with the Talkman, if I'm not mistaken, or Cityman, a smaller version, 800 grams, which is about 1 kilo. Yes, they downsized it. That is known as the first generation mobile phone. And you know how much that mobile phone was worth at that time? It was worth $4,000. And people used to buy. Yes, they used to buy. And we find then after that, when they came up with Nokia 1100. Have you heard of Nokia 1100? They used to have these small ones before the smartphones, yeah? Can you remember? Nokia 1100. You know how many of them they sold worldwide? 250 million sets. They sold how many? 250 million sets. Then afterwards, what happens is that's the first generation mobile, the second generation mobile phone, 2G, yeah? Then comes the third generation mobile phone. Who enters into the market? iPhone, Apple. Apple, they had their own operating system. They had their own operating system, and the iPhone started selling their product. And they were a bit more advanced compared to Nokia. Yes, and Nokia did not pick up, the third generation mobile phone, which was smartphones, it did not embrace it so strongly. It missed the opportunity. And that opportunity you're saying about in 2007 to 10 was taken over by iPhone and also Android, operating system, which Samsung started using. So Nokia was thrown out of the market, and who by 2011 or 2010 and 11, the market was being dominated by iPhone. Yes, I once spoke to the head of operations in Europe of iPhone. I was just talking about distributionship and things like that. We were just having a talk. I said, if I became your distributor, I was just asking years back, not now, right? I said, if I became your distributor for this product for these countries that you do not have a foothold, what would be the price you will sell these items for? I said, we'll sell nearly the same price as we're selling here. I said, then where will I be making profit? They said, well, in those countries, those products are sold more expensive than the prices here. And I said, why don't you make it cheaper? I just said like this. I said, our product, the demand for our product is based on the prestige. What they said? And that prestige that prestige is attained by having a high price. Did you get it? The demand for our products is based on what? Prestige. And the prestige is attained by high price. In other words, what it means, these handsets can be made very cheap. What it means, the handsets can be made very cheap, but we have to inflate the price, because with that people say, wow, yes, it's iPhone. It's the branding. Yeah? Yes? The brand name. And that's what he said to me. So we find that they took over. But it's not only that. You're not paying only for the brand. I'm pretty sure that they have some technological advances on the phone that gives an edge compared to others. And they come up with new technologies and they keep on adding. Yes? iPhone X will have some extra things that the previous one didn't have, like that. And they're always competing with each other, Samsung and iPhone. So it is the uniqueness, as I mentioned, and also one has to compete for profit, not growth. It should be profit-oriented rather than growth-oriented. And also, if a person is strategically thinking, he should also know his industry. Yes, he should study the industry that he wants to do before he develops his own business strategy. Also, the choice. When we're talking about choice, it means the target market. Who would you want to target? If you're going to sell this product, who are going to target? Oh, I want to target wealthy people. Oh, if you're targeting wealthy people, why are you selling in an area where there are no wealthy people? Yes. So know the choice when we're talking who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve as well. How you're going to serve. So strategic innovation is the process to make those choices. So a person has to have those and also learn to say no, because you can't take all the ideas on board. This idea, that idea. No, you should know how to streamline your ideas. You can't take all the ideas on board. And also, a good business strategy requires you to keep on moving. Yes, the problem many times happens is that a person has a business strategy, but it's a very short term. I can sit down and can make a strategy in my mind, but get it written. And I can write it on one piece of paper. That's not enough. You have to think deep. When you're making a strategy, think of long term. Yes? Think of short term and medium term. And also you have to be a scenario thinking person. Say if there is a worst case scenario, something goes wrong, how do I repair that? So these are the things that are important. And lastly, I think it's important to give you some tips, yes? Learn from others' failures. The problem is that we always learn from others' successes, isn't it? Oh, look, I can remember, my grandfather used to say to his sons, meaning my father and so on, he said that look at other people who are being successful. Look how they're becoming successful. Learn from them. Yes? So most of entrepreneurs, they look for those successes. They're not looking for those who failed to see why they have failed. Yes? Yes? Lehman Brothers, why did they fail? Where did they go wrong? Yes? Northern Rock, why were they hitting the skids at that time? What did they do wrong to go to that, state? So my grandfather used to say, look at the successes of people, but in reality, you should also look at the failures of people rather than admiring their successes. Yes, learn why did that business went worse or whatever. And not only this, if you are an entrepreneur and you have failed, don't be despondent. Many times what happens, you've made a mistake, it didn't work, that's it. No, stand up. Come up with another idea. It's not the end of the game. Do something else. And make sure that what you want, also you have to think long term. And also be able to solve problems. I've already spoken about that. Be passionate. These are from the experts. Yes, we are talking about those who are expert in entrepreneurship. They are the ones who give this advice. The primary driver is that you are making. You want to come up. You want to achieve and make a difference. Yes, that's the primary driver. In entrepreneurship. Get advice from others. There's nothing wrong in getting advice from others, networking with others. It's not only reading books, but try to network with those people who are good in this, and slowly a person is able to do very well. So entrepreneurship, as I said in the beginning, is something that is historically linked with Muslims from the beginning of Islam. And it has always been there. I gave some examples of early Muslims, and in fact, those whose examples I've given, these are the ones who entered in Islam earlier on. And number two, I also mentioned that the Prophet ﷺ, what he did in Medina, and how the economy of Medina increased because it was linking the entrepreneurs with the producers. And I mentioned about bank without banks, Zuber ibn Awam. Also the economic activity, 500 years before the Renaissance, before, Europe woke up, the Muslims were economically active before them, yes. And they were writing books on economy, look Imam Ghazali and so on and so forth. Before that, you find Abu Yusuf wrote Kitab al-Kharaj. Also, we find Muhammad ibn Hassan al-Shaybani wrote Kitab al-Iktisabat. So we have a history, and we should keep that history going. And I also gave some advice on how we can prosper in this area. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. If you have any questions, ask me, inshallah. Do you have any questions? Any questions about entrepreneurship?
Why a lot of people fail, in this business?
The failure, many times, it's, what we have is known as herd mentality. Yes? Have you been to Winslow Road before? Have you been to Winslow Road? In Manchester, every now and then there is a restaurant. There is a restaurant. So what happened is we have Entrepreneur is not one having a herd mentality and saying, okay, we will, because he's opened a restaurant, I should open a restaurant, he should open a restaurant. So you've got so many restaurants opening up, yes? He will come up with a different idea altogether. Okay, there's a unit empty here, what should I do? It's just opening a restaurant or opening something different, yes? Something that will attract the attention of people, something that people will say, oh wow, this is something different, yes? Yes. So differentiation strategy. He's there to create something unique and different. So many times the reason why people fail is they do not see, they don't study who they're targeting. They do not, they do not survey before that whether, taking survey and asking people whether that is something needed. They do not look at they don't study the location. You end up, sometimes you end up opening, let's take an example of a takeaway. You open in a place where it's booming, and you end up opening in a place where people are not much interested, and they find it very far from where, so nobody will be going there, yes? So the location, the strategic location. So failures many a times is because due to all these different factors of not studying beforehand and not knowing. And sometimes what it is, say for example, the country enters into an economic hardship and recession. So in recession, you should also know what are the things that will sell. Yes? Maybe cheap things will sell, isn't it? People, yes? So you start selling, expensive things, most likely you will not get anyone to buy. So a person should be aware of all these factors, and many people, they don't. They just say, they just jump into, They say, that brother, I saw him in London, he opened and he's very busy. I'll try to open here in Dundee. It doesn't work. Yes. He might be working there, but not here. Why? Because the location that you've opened in, it's not the right location, yes? And also, there are other reasons as well. It's many times exposure. You've not exposed your business to an extent that people know, yes, that you are there, yes? Exposure to an extent that people know that there is something there, and they come and they try to benefit. So many times failures are regarding this, and sometimes it's mismanagement. Mismanagement could be the reason for failure. You're not managing properly. You've opened a nice, say for example, let's take an example of restaurant, yes? Because this is something that people understand better. You open a restaurant, right? And what happens is that you have advertised, many people are coming, you're not managing it properly. There is that between you and the staff members, there's a rift, yes? And they're not providing quality food. What will happen? A person will go first time and he will say, oh wow, I've heard about this restaurant, let me go and check. Goes there, and tries to eat and says, never again I will walk. Yes? He's had a very bad experience. Yes? So, you could be an entrepreneur coming up with a very beautiful, nice business idea, something innovative, and you've opened something and people are going there, but unfortunately when it comes to running, yes, because entrepreneurship is not only developing and organizing, but it's also managing, yes, and there in managing, you're not managing it properly, you're not providing quality products to your customers. Obviously the customers will give bad review, and more bad reviews, what will happen is that others who will read those reviews, they will say, well, that's not. Sometimes you go to a small little, like a shack, a small little place, and it's the busiest. And in some other place, a person has spent so much and has made it so lavish, yes? But nobody's going there. Yeah. Happens, eh? Sometimes you've opened something that, it's like, if you go inside it's not appealing. Obviously, you have to make it appealing, but it's not that appealing, but the quality of service and the quality of food and product or whatever you're giving, it's something that people are saying, wow, this is the place that I have to buy from. So, failures, this is what an entrepreneur has to do, where the problem is. Why am I failing? Why is it not working properly? You find, what is this? There is this chef, what's his name? Who is a big mouth. He likes to... Huh? Yeah, Gordon Ramsay, isn't it? Huh? He goes and he to all different places, and the restaurant is not working. Yes, why it's not working? Because it's not on the floor. It's not being managed properly. The food that is people are receiving. So people in the beginning used to come, and now they started deserting. Yes. So he tries to revitalize it. Yes, and says, "Oh, you have to sell fresh food." But what happens is that they say all dogs, huh? It's very hard to teach all dogs new tricks. So sometimes you find what? Rebellion from the management. He says, no. The way it is, it's fine. Yes? And then he fights with it. Yeah? And then all of a sudden, the management, the manager says, okay, that's fine. Yes? And sometimes they say, oh, manager, you stay away. Let him do everything. Yes? And then when the things have changed, then the business starts booming again. So it is, an entrepreneur looks at the problem, where the problem lies. Yes. Why is it my business, yesterday it was working fine, was busy, why is it gone down? Yes. Sometimes I'm compromising on the quality, let me change the quality. Or sometimes the palate, yes, if it's a restaurant, the palate has changed, they don't want that. They want something different. Let me try to introduce new dishes, yes, like that, So what happens is that these are the problem solving should be part of the entrepreneur.
How long we should wait, suppose I started a business today, how long I should wait, to get
a return?
Yeah, return. And what should be a return, our return ratio? Maybe in 3 years we should get our capital back.
Yeah,
4 years, 5 years, for how long we should?
Depending on what you're doing. Sometimes what happens is that many times, businesses, you do not start making profit. Then it takes about 5 years, 10 years or so. Yes, as long as there's what you're doing is doing very well. Yes, and as long as you're receiving the returns. Yes, but you're not profitable yet. Then slowly. It depends on how you're perceiving when you want to start making, yes? When you want to break even, you can work out. Sometimes you might be breaking even after 10 years. Yes. And or before that, you might end up selling it because, the business is so profitable. No, I mean, it's running properly. You might sell it and make a good profit out of it, and somebody else buys it. So it all depends about how you want the things to be. Yes.
After the prohibition of interest in
Yeah.
Quran, Allah encouraged trade. What did the previous Muslim do to basically help the cause of to prohibit interest historically?
Why was it prohibited?
No. After the prohibition.
How all right. All right. Okay. There are many different ways that Muslims. Many a times they would enter into partnership, meaning that a wealthy person would take somebody in partnership, or sometimes they would start. They would scale up, start from a small scratch. As we take the case of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Did you hear? He went penniless, but he started. He offered his services, and slowly he built up an empire. And he left about $552 billion when he passed away. So that's how they used to do. And now, what he used to do, Abdurrahman, he used to lend as well. He used to say, 1/3 of my wealth is for my family, 1/3 is for this, and 1/3 is for those people who come to me to borrow. Yes, I will lend the money. I will give them the money. Yes, 1/3, yes, without interest. Yeah, because qard is hasan. It's a benevolent act. That's what they used to do, and it doesn't mean economically you're not. By giving, yes, Allah gives more barakah to you as well. And here is Abdurrahman ibn Auf, a living example for us. Yes. Any other questions? No? Yeah, what is the question?
Some kids and entrepreneurs.
Yeah, you can get kids as well, the age of 9, 10. They're entrepreneurs, they come up with good ideas and they become wealthier than anyone. I'll give you some examples, yeah? About the kids. Some kids, they have like, if you read, you Google, you will find many. Brothers, there's food downstairs. Brothers, food downstairs. Yeah, so you get kids. There are quite a few kids who have come up with ideas, and and they started selling. I'll give you some example. There was a brother. He told me that they've got a company. It's an architect's company in Saudi Arabia, and they were selling. They were doing this business. All of a sudden, one of the workers, he said, he used to go to other workers, co-workers, and say that, my wife, she makes cake. Yes? Does anyone want to buy cakes? So people, they have birthdays and whatever, right? And parties, they would order cakes from him. Slowly, the wife saw that there is a demand, and she opened up a shop, bakery, selling cakes. And it started booming. She opened another one. She opened the third one. Then all of a sudden he had to resign. He said that I'm resigning. They said, why are you resigning? He said, now my wife, she is employing me as a manager. Huh? Yes. So there was another Chinese man. He had a restaurant. So what happened was that he found that, in B&Q and Home Base and all these places, these taps, they're very expensive. They were expensive in the beginning. Now there's competition. They're very expensive. So he said, let me find out where you can get these taps from. He found that from China, you can order these taps, and they're only 20 pounds. And, they're being sold for 50 to 60 pounds in B&Q. So he started selling them. I don't know whether he started selling first on eBay. He opened also an internet web page. Business, and he started selling e-commerce. He started selling that. Within a month, he started making more profit than he was making in his restaurant for a year. Because you're selling it cheaper than B&Q, people will buy from you. Yes? So he started making more profit than the amount of profit he was making in his restaurant for a year. He had 1 or 2 restaurants. So what he did, he gave those restaurants to someone else to run, and he started concentrating on that. There was another lady, she went to, if you go to Manchester, there's a lot of warehouses. Muslims, they have warehouses in Manchester. So this lady, she went to one of these, warehouses. She wanted to buy a costume, party costumes for the children. Yes. So she bought it, and she said, well, let me check on eBay and other places. And she found that there was vacuum, yes, in the market. There was what? A vacuum. Nobody was doing that product. So she started buying from this brother, Muslim brother, and she started selling it on the internet. Buying from him, selling. And then afterwards she said, why should I keep on buying from him? Let me look for the supplier, where he's getting from. She found the supplier, she started buying. Within 1 year, she was, her turnover was more than $1 million. Yes. So, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the main thing is that may Allah give barakah in our business. Sometimes, you might be making pennies, but Allah can put barakah in that. And sometimes you can make too much and there's no barakah in the wealth. May Allah give barakah. So, it is coming up with an idea and, seeing there is a vacuum in the market and trying to seize the opportunity at the